This is just the introduction,
Right,
right?
right.
Or we get the other part.
Well, if this is just the introduction of that, so we're not voting on amendments of what we talked about in the workshop. With this.
Well, yeah, part of this is, local law is attached here too, and they are part of.
So let me just quickly give a feedback of what was going on, because we just got this, and there was, I think, a lot of confusion, at least on my part, there was confusion on what we were doing with this. So I'm going to give a synopsis, and you tell me if I'm okay. So
I didn't get it either.
You're saying it
Local-
still works.
The local law was, the model law, New York State model law was put together, and Bridget went ahead and included the extra language in that when we submitted it, so that it had to be submitted to New York or to make sure that it was okay.
DEC.
To make sure everything was okay. They came back with corrections that we should do, and also they informed her that if we go with the additional language, then we're going to have to do another thing to ask for a permit from New York to include that in, right?
Petition.
Petition to include that in. So what the extra language is pretty much saying is that because it's a floodplain area, we shouldn't allow hospitals, fire stations, senior citizen homes, emergency facilities, things like that built in those areas. It also includes any storage structure or anything that contains hazardous material or fire material. The things that came to mind when I read through this and we were taking this out was, one, I was concerned because of the insurance, that it was something we put this out, that people were doing insurance for, because you have to do more work and we wouldn't be doing that. That was told me that that's not the case, we're okay there. The second thing that came to my mind as we took this out was with battery storage would be a combustible thing, fire hazard. According to a comprehensive plan, people have said they don't want battery storage. This would help protect from that. So we'd like to leave it in. The other thing is, we just got out of where the town was that had that storage facility for alcohol. It's up there, it was a complete disaster, and wiped right out of it. I was wondering if anybody was putting that in and storing hazardous materials, flammable materials. Stored. Just something to think about before we move on, and we really want to take out this 5.7 area and critical. But how much extra work would we need?
Yeah, so you'd have to petition the state because it's more restrictive than the uniform codes, which, Barry follows the uniform code, every municipality does. As far as how much work, it depends on what the state comes back with. If there's more, we need to, part of our petition prove why we would need this. So as part of our recommendation that we didn't think we needed it is because there's not a lot of flooding with Barry. I'm not sure the battery storage would really come into play with this flood damage prevention law. I think you could have a separate battery law for those issues, so I think they're kind of separate. And then the only other thing is, so as George said, we have all of the model language. We are would be fully compliant with the state and everything they require. They had another sheet with some more restrictive language that was initially thrown in, but you do not need to have that go through the petition. And when I cross-referenced with the current flood damage prevention law that Barry has, that language wasn't in there. So by taking out the additional language, the residents are not losing any protections that they had. It is, it's better than the old law for sure, but I just wanted to, let the board know that they didn't have those extra additions before that we would be then taking out. But of course, if the board wants to go forward with petitioning the state, truly, DEC kind of just came back that you would have to, and under what law, the executive law, to explain why we need higher restrictions than what the uniform code suggests. And then as far as the details, I don't know all of them for that process.
So the plan we have now, this is actually a little better, but it doesn't change anything as far as the residents' rights and the possibility of building in a flood zone or anything to that effect?
Yeah, the model language is substantially, helps the old law. It also includes the more up-to-date flood maps that the state has provided, the flood insurance studies, the flood insurance rate map, so it coincides with the current maps and studies, and yeah, incorporates more than your current one, but it's not taking away anything. There's nothing in the current law that you have that, residents have some protection that would be like taken away with the new law, if that answers your question.
My fault that I haven't looked into this. As far as where that floodplain is in here, is it just the block how far up is it?
Well, FEMA spent a couple of years here in Orleans County meeting with people, representatives from all the municipalities, and we worked on those maps and everything. I presented to the board before about what we got back from them. Now, previous to this research that they just did, about 1/3 of the town of Berry was in the floodplain. Now, it's diminished a great deal. It's all across the southern part of the, yes, the Muckland area. That's where it is primarily. It does come up into a couple of other areas of the town because of the streams that aren't running very well right now. But the majority of the floodplain area is down there like the Muck area, southern part of town.
And the only other thing I'll say, and so to do the petition, the town has to adopt the law, and then within 30 days of the adoption, it has to make the petition. And it may be no issue, but I'll just throw it in that we have to have this law adopted by October 15th. So I don't know what the petition part, like if the state comes back saying no, if we would, I haven't looked into that, if that would mean we would have to like re-adopt without that language, and what that might put us in with the state requirements.
So we have to adopt this law by the 15th, but we have to have a public hearing, so we have to do this next to adopt this.
Yes. Yeah, just the petition occurs after adoption.
So that's part of this right here, which is accepting the way it is written right now. Do you feel comfortable with that then?
I think that, I'm not going to say for everybody, I think I'd be more comfortable leaving it in, so I would probably vote against it, but.
So do I hear a second for that introduction of local law 2, FEMA floodplain?
I'll make a second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Dave?
I had a problem with my computer, and Bridget helped me get my red line up. I'm abstaining because I haven't had a chance to look and compare the two. I literally just got them up.
Okay. Margaret?
we have to make a decision on the version. We have to introduce it today, or else we would be off of the timeline.
This is just saying that you have been given a copy. This isn't saying, correct? I mean, this is the formal introduction, which has to go on record that all five of you have been given a copy and you acknowledge you've given a copy. I get it.
So,
You're not approving it. You're saying, yes, I've been given it. That's what I'm
yeah, she is right. It'd be better to pick the version today because you do, like under seeker and stuff, you have to have a version available to show to the public. But that is correct. We're just introducing it. So you could introduce the whole one with the language and then in adoption decide if you're taking it out. You don't have to decide what language is being kept in or taking out, but we do have to introduce a version and have a version readily accessible for the public to comment on at the public hearing and things of that sort. So we could keep it all in for purposes of public hearing and stuff, and then at the next board meeting decide if that makes everyone more comfortable.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm comfortable that I've seen it, and, you know, I'm not comfortable with the language of taking out until I see how much it's gonna be effective, and what areas of that effective. So, that's where I kind of confuse that out just a little bit.
You're still voting yes to introduce, I mean, unless you wanted,
Unless I want to change language, I want to change the motion, change language to leave that in. But then it's going to come down to how much more work we have to do. It's going to be worth it to do that.
Well, I
Yeah.
think as you're saying, and this is what we pointed out, we're just being introduced. So, we can introduce the law with the red lines in it. We've got until next month to decide whether or not we want to put the red line in it or not.
Yeah, that would,
Yeah.
We adapt it.
I would be comfortable with that.
okay.
Approve that.
Yeah.
And then we can do all that with the red line. If they don't want the red line, but they want that locked in. We're okay with that because it's still being.
Yeah, at adoption. So, hearing the board, I'd recommend changing the clean copy for the public and everyone to review as rejecting the red lines and keeping it all in for the short term, because the public has to be able to review it for the public hearing. They shouldn't really be reviewing a redlined version.
You'd like that too, right? That gives you a chance.
And then,
Yeah.
in this meantime, we can all, yeah, and then at the adoption, that's not difficult to say we went through it, explain why, if we go that route, we took things out, so, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so am I. Margaret's good.
Well, now I'm a little. No, for some reason here, I have Margaret seconded, and then I have Kirk just seconding it at the end.
We're gonna do it again.
No, all over again.
Okay, we know, we can red line, we're,
I don't think you have to reread the whole thing.
law number 2 introduction will be a clean copy, including the red line, which will be clean.
Yeah, including the additional language, we could write it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stuff the state wanted us to take out and change, that's going to be done except for that. The section 2, 62, 52, 1, all that stuff.
Correct. Yes, a clean copy with the optional additional language included.
That can be changed at our next meeting after we had a good chance to compare the
Yes.
two.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
So, there you go.
Who seconds it? It's up for us.
I did.
I have two people seconding.
Coach says go over it. I'll second it.
Okay, Kirk.
Resolution.
Kirk,
Kirk seconds it.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Wow. Okay, we got that one. Oops, I checked the wrong one off. Okay. Next. Next resolution, Town of Berrytown Board Resolution to refer the Town of Berry proposed local law entitled Local Law Number 2 of the 2025 Flood Damage
I'll second.
You, Dave?
What do you vote, man? So,
Yes.
we're gonna take it, send it to the county, county's gonna give us their recommendations by next meeting. If we send this one, and next month we decide to change it, we have to send it back to the county, or we move forward?
You can move forward. You'd have to send it to the county if it's a substantial change, but I think this way we're including everything
Right.
and we're taking it back is better. I think it'd be different if we didn't include it and then you guys wanted to add stuff back in.
Right. Yep.
And also, what the county makes recommendations, they don't make mandates, and this has to be changed. Okay. Or Dave.
Yeah. I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, next, we need the public hearing for local law number 2. Date set for that, we usually, like we did today, have our local law, or our public hearing prior to the board meeting.
Yep.
So, how does that sound for October 8th at 7 p.m.?
All right.
Want to do 6:45?
That's fine with me. I mean,
6:45. Okay. Do I hear a second on that motion to have it, the public hearing on October 8th at 6:45? George, all in favor?
aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, Town of Berry, Town Board resolution that enactment of the proposed local law, entitled local law number 2 of 2025 flood damage prevention is subject to seeker and classifying consideration of the proposed local law is an unlisted action under seeker. Whereas on September 10th, 2025, the Town Board of the Town of Berry introduced the proposed local law entitled local law number 2 of 2025 flood damage prevention. And whereas the adoption of the proposed local law is subject to seeker, it would involve the town adopting a local law that may impact the environment. And whereas on September 10th, 2025, the Town Board of the Town of Berry prepared a short environmental assessment form for their proposed action, and now therefore the Town Board of the Town of Berry hereby declares itself lead agency for purposes of seeker review. And therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Berry finds that the adoption of the current version of the proposed local law entitled local law number 2 of 2025 flood damage prevention would qualify as an unlisted action under seeker because it involves an action that does not fall under 6 NYCRR 617.4 or 6 NYCRR 617.5. And therefore, Town Board of the Town of Berry further resolves that the proposed action is classified as an unlisted action under seeker. Now therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Berry further resolves that the public hearing on the proposed action shall be held on October 8th, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. at the Town of Berry Town Hall. Where second?
I'll second.
Dave seconds, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay, folks, I'm done reading all that stuff. Okay. Next. Have a motion for the highway superintendent So carried. Next, motion to appoint Tom Decker as an alternate to the planning board.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, those, Kirk and, Dave. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My discussion, thing as always, I think they should be open to the public and should get open things to come in. The other thing I was gonna, Tom Decker, you know Kirk, right? Is he, Kirk, at least still more?
I'm not sure.
So that's what I was gonna reach out, I didn't get because Kurt's on the planning board, like it's his son, too. Fine, I mean, I'm not gonna, Ivan and I both ran for council, I can't say anything.
Let's vote, John.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, next, I meant to do this when we had our workshop, and I overlooked it. And that is, I'd like to set a date for our budget workshop. Preferably in about 2 weeks. Get your calendars out. Like the week of the 22nd there sometime. Hopefully I'll have everything all put back together again. We've got some issues, as I told you, at the workshop with LGSS. Hopefully I can get the numbers back on them that week. If not, I'll let you know. We just might have to postpone it a couple days.
How about Monday the 22nd? That work for everybody?
Yes.
That works for me, Margaret? George? Yeah?
Okay, then September 22nd, 6 p.m.
Sure.
You're not a Monday next week.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the way it matters. But then, 6 p.m.
Just gotta pull the TV out of Sean's office, that's all.
I wish. Okay, so we set the date. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we have a budget workshop on September 22nd at 6 o'clock.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay. Once again, I'm going to do the reminder, board members, before you leave this evening, please see Maureen and some of the documents.
No, it's probably when we went over them. One is the signing of local law 2, which that's after it's passed, they just have already emailed all. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
they're signing.
Did you get the other one?
That was the other one in the morning that everybody else. Go back.
For the water tower.
Yeah, for Water District 10, there's stuff to sign.
Well, they said water tower, you said water district 1, which is it?
I don't know, get my mind.
I know the legal services agreement had 5 lines.
Oh, that's right, yes. Our response,
For
Water District 10.
the new legal services, RD wants everybody's signature.
the new contract.
Yes.
Water district 10. Oh, that's what you hadn't gotten today. When you and I were last going over all this, you were saying you had not gotten
Earlier today.
Yes.
What?
So I'm not seeing any one of them.
Right there.
Seen it yet. That's why I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
Plain wash, and I can separate it.
Yeah, I.
I'll just pass this down
Yep.
and then sign this right.
Good idea.
Okay.
Like the top of it, especially all signed.
Okay. It's right there on the west wall, which replaced the old 5-ton that we used to have outside there. So that's the new heating and air conditioning system. Remember that those do not work well for heat when it gets extremely cold, and this one will. So we keep things warm in here with that. And it's a lot quieter than that monster we used to have. Okay, moving on. I got
Sean, I'd like to ask you this report.
I will, just give me a chance to get over my point first here. Josh is falling asleep and he had a long night last night. Where the heck is that? Okay.
That's okay.
Sorry, we'll see
You
if
could
that,
expect
Well, skip us next one.
yeah.
Okay, Josh. Number one, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I wasn't here last month. We had a pretty busy month last month, 24 calls. I'm not gonna read all down through them. But one other piece of information I did put on there that I'm now keeping track of is, everybody knows how important mutual aid is to us, and so this year so far, we provided mutual aid 25 times and received mutual aid 8 times. So everybody in the county is working really well together. We've been in Genesee County several times, mutual aid also. I submitted all the information for the fire and EMS study a few weeks ago, preliminary information for that. So that study is, I believe, just getting under motion. And the other thing that we did 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday night was we went over and did some flow testing on the west side of town with the dead end gone now. And I think that the Eagle Harbor Road hydrant by Jesse Babcock's house, we doubled the gallons a minute we used to get out of there by closing that dead end. Miller Road was the same, doubled, and we went over in Pine Mill Road, just about by the airport, was almost double too. That's still significantly lower, but it's better with that loop closed.
Glad we did there. Excellent. Wish we could do more of those, get rid of those dead ends.
Yeah, so it really made a big difference.
Good.
Increasing the pressure on this new water tower, not going to affect the truck.
Won't affect the truck, Sammy. We're more interested in the flow rate than the pressure. I mean, they're kind of related, but, so over there, we're getting over 800 gallons a minute now. So that would, that's a significant difference. I think we were like 500 before. Yeah, pressure will, having the volume and capacity of water there will help also. It's a standard practice that we notify the water plant if we have any major events, so they start pumping more water our way anyhow. So if it's here, all the better.
Are you able to see last month, 9 during the work, we had 2 calls out of 17, and this month, last month? You able to fill those and get the numbers?
We get less, but we still are being staffed enough. Yeah, we're the 5.6 or 5.5 this month is, probably not a good picture of what we get during the day. It's probably 2 or 3 during the day and 8 or 9 at night. Night is similar to day, depending on the type of call.
On your 4 calls last night, how many did you get?
We had about 16 or 17 people total for all 4 calls.
inspections and closed out 6 of his open permits. There will be a new code update from the state that goes into effect on the first of the year. He's going to need the new code books. So that's something we gotta look at for the budget. They're not cheap either, but they're required. There will also be mandatory state training for him on the new codes, but the state has not notified as yet when they are due. Okay. Planning board,
Our chairman's here. You could do that report.
Okay. Yeah, we had a public hearing on a land separation over on Maple Street. That was approved. It was on the Simon's Farm. There was also a site plan, special use permit granted to the cell tower over on County House Road, with just an addition to replacing a part of the antennas. Nothing underground. And then an initial investigation on land separation, dealing with heritage.
thank you, sir. Zoning board.
Well, we got another chair. Yeah. Last month we approved, the variance for, airport.
I've noticed in driving around town, there's been a lot of activity where people have been working on their properties. The additions or improvements, repairs and everything, quite a bit going on in town. Park, anything new there?
Just we got the weed killer down in the back 40 there. I don't think anything on the rest have been done. Dale's not here, but I guess it worked pretty well. No other real updates right now in the park.
Weed killer, and then we're working it all down, smooth it all out because it's being so torn up.
Yep, so but that way by next year you can just brush hog it and it'll be somewhat smooth. Be way smoother than it is now.
Yeah, they're also intending to develop or put in a walking trail going through that back 40, as you put it, I think.
Yeah, Dale was talking about raising it up with topsoil and that and making the trail that way.
Utilities, anything there?
Yep, heater's in.
Sorry, I jumped on that for you. Okay. Ms. Cook.
I forgot to mention when we were at Baird Solar, but Bridget O'Toole just had an update. There's a little ambiguity in the HCA agreement about when payment starts. Their attorney, Young Summer, didn't draft the agreement, their current attorney, and we didn't draft the agreement, so we're working with them on working it out. She met with them, I believe, last week to have a call, and then asked for an update today, and he had been busy with some things, but, looking for another meeting. But his thing was, we want to work it out and figure it out and get that working. So more to come, hopefully, by next meeting. I'm helping the planning board with the heritage land separation. Their attorney reached out, so I'll help with that. And then just to go back to the flood damage prevention law, I was thinking, I don't know, obviously that's a local issue, but I was kind of thinking, I don't know if the board would be interested. Are you interested? I know, sorry, I can't speak. The county has already said they've looked at some of these laws. Would the board be curious to know what surrounding towns, if they've added that language in, or that's not really a factor? Because I could look and see if other people are adding it in, if that you care, or...
I would say if it's a minimal cost, it wouldn't be bad to hear what other municipalities are doing.
Can I make a suggestion that if you request some, Wes from our planning board, he is also on the county planning board, and he can get his hands on a couple of those fairly easily, I would assume.
And some suggestions from the county planning board, I can send those to you.
Oh, awesome.
One town they particularly said was well good. So.
Okay, that would be great. Awesome.
Thank you, Wes.
I think that's all for me.
Next board workshop is October 6th at 6 p.m. Next town board meeting is October 8th at 7 p.m. and that is with a local law number 2. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So
Nobody.
carried.